Today I've just launched out of Jacob's Well. Absolutely wonderful morning on the Gold Coast. A little chilly, about 5 degrees, but so today I'm going to just do some classic winter bream fishing, and I'm going to break it down for you. So we've touched on this stuff before in some of the previous episodes, but today I want to go a little bit deeper and explain some of the nuances that can just make those little changes that will make a difference in your catch rate. So we'll see how we go and put it together. So this flat here, you won't see it obviously because it's high tide, but essentially there's a big mud flat, the mud bank that runs up the middle there, lagoon over the back, and it stages out. It comes out, there's probably 3 feet of water at the moment. It's nearly high tide, drops out to 5 or 6, and then it drops out again. And what I do here is I'll stage it, so you, depending on the part of the tide, obviously what I do like is when that tide is dropping out and there's not much water on the top, get those really shallow lures going up there, because those fish up there feeding, waiting to drop back out to that next layer down, and that can be quite productive. This time of year, I don't have any electronics today, so I'm just going off memory. I'm going to start out a little bit wider and just find out where the fish are holding. So essentially 7 foot spin rod, 2500 reel. This is 3 pound fluoro straight through. So haven't tried fluoro. It's actually pretty cool. It's a bit different when to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's actually obviously there's some advantages that if you get snagged or you lose a lure, tie a lure straight on, if we're tying leaders, all that kind of stuff. So definitely some advantages to it, and I think also the fact that you don't the fish can't see the leader as well. So just a atomic 38 crank. That's a medium, dives to around about 0.8 to 1 meter. This is perfect for this kind of country. So, and then if you want to, if you find the fish are a little bit deeper, you can go to something like a dive or rolling crank or something that dives to sort of 1 to 1.2. And then what other thing I like to do out here, if they're holding deeper again, is I'll throw a stick minnow and just let it sink down, and then use that as well. So I'll try and get back later in the day when there's no water on these flats, so you can see the contrast between the two. But yeah, let's get into them. I'm purely working off muscle memory here. I know this area so well, so I taught my kids how to bream fish. See if they're around. A really good moon phase today. It's moon rise ready, leading into it's only a fairly new moon, and we'll get that moon up period before I got to leave around lunchtime. So with your flats, you can pan around. So just sort of like, instead of just casting into one area, depending on your drift, just pan around a little bit. So if you cast out there, then cast another one at say 45, a little bit less, and pan around the boat and cover that area. And then you'll generally find a pattern where they might be sitting. Some might be sitting on the edges, out a little bit deeper, shallower, whatever else. So yeah, just sort of work it around. Nothing flash about the retrieve, just a nice, gentle. The little tip you can do is if you find your lure is bottoming it out, because that water's dropping down or whatever, just hold your rod tip up 45. You'll just bring it up through that water column a little bit and bring it across that where you don't necessarily need to change your lures to a shallow one. And that's the way that you'll think, oh yeah, the water's too shallow, I can't fish it anymore. Just change the angle of the rod and you'll find that you'll just skim along the top. And like I said, those fish love to stay up there. You'll be times when you think, oh, I've got to go because there's no water. And it's quite often when the fish are feeding most actively, when there's not much water left there. I've had some great sessions where there's been absolutely bugger all water left on a bank, and you're casting into 6 inches of water and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just doing this by feel. So I'm just sort of bottoming out there. Is that a fish? No. The thing you'll find is you'll get to know the banks, and that's where coming around, look at these things at low tide is a real advantage. On here you've got weed, you've got sand, you've got big sand flats up there, but the fish will sit up there at times. They'll be on those, they're feeding on the crabs and all the other stuff that lives in there. So if you see those dig marks, it's a fair indication the fish have been up there feeding. So if you can work out what they're feeding on, where they're feeding, that's why stuff like this, good idea is just drift across, and you'll just find, because I'm just fishing different types of structure. I'm over grassy weed at the moment. We'll go on to some more sandy stuff, and that's where they might be. Good thing about flats fishing, it's a great place for kids to learn. There's nothing for them to get caught up in. You can just, especially on a day like today, set yourself up on the drift with the wind and let them let loose, and generally they'll catch fish like the bream. You get the odd really big one, but majority of the time they're just those perfect size for kids to learn on and stuff like that. So just get that wind behind you, nice long cast. One of the keys is the really soft rods. When you cast, don't strike. Whatever you do, don't strike when you get that. When you feel weight, just let the fish, just let the wind the fish on. You'll feel the weight or the bite, and then the fish will just load up. The rod will do all the work for you. Is that a bite? I don't know. So yeah, just let the rod do the work, and because you'll find if you're on this really light line, you're more inclined to bust them off as well. So I know I've taken a few different flathead guys out who used to really setting that hook, and I've just got to say to them, hey, just let the rod do the work, don't strike. So what I've done now is I've come out a little bit deeper, so this is around that 5 to 6 feet mark, and I've changed to I'll keep the other one on, the shallow one on, but I've gone to a do a dire rolling crank. These jobbies sort of run to 1.2 meters or so around that 4 to 5 feet mark. So that's perfect over this little bit deeper water. And then I'll rotate between the three. So as the drift, what I found with the drift so far is it's sort of drifting across and up. So while I'm out in this little bit deeper water, I'll throw this, and then as this starts to hit the bottom, I know I'm sort of getting shallower, and I'll change to the shallower crank. It's the smallest bream known to mankind. Look at that guy. That's funny. I did say you can get them small on here. It's a baby.